G'day Internet, and welcome to a very bright and sunny December day here in Australia. What I've got here is a 2008 or 2009 Lexus LX570. So it's got the 5.7 litre Toyota V8 in it, which is the same engine I believe that's used in every LandCruiser in the US and Canada, maybe other parts of the world. Same engine as a Toyota Tundra as well. The LandCruisers here have a 4.7 litre V8, which is a bit different to this one. But anyway, what I'm going to do is change the engine coolant. So the main reason I'm making this video is to show you how to drain as much coolant out of the engine as you can. If you just simply take the bottom radiator hose off the radiator, you won't get all the coolant out of the engine block. So what you have to do to access the, there's two valves on the engine block on either side of the engine block, and to access them you've got to get into the wheel arch in the front of the car. So what I've done to make it easier to access the wheel arches, I've lifted the car up using the automatic height control suspension, and I also believe that putting it into low range four-wheel drive makes it lift up very, very slightly higher. So I don't know whether that's correct or not, but anyway, I put the car into low range and reverse down here and put it into the highest mode that it can go, and it seems to be maybe lifted up a little bit more. I could be just imagining that, but anyway, the problem is if you're working in the wheel arches, you don't want the suspension to lower down for some reason while you're underneath there. So I've also got, as you can see, the handle sticking out here. I've also got a jack underneath the car, and I've also put, just to make it a bit safer, I've put an axle stand under this side. I'm only doing this side at the moment. So I'll show you where to get to the radiator hose. So to initially get the coolant out of the radiator, you need to take this bash plate off the right hand side of the car, which is the driver's side here in Australia, or passenger side on your left hand drive countries. And once you've got that off, you can easily get to the radiator hose here, undo the clamp like you do with every other car, and pull the radiator hose off, and all the radiator coolant will come flying out and go all over you, and hopefully you'll get a little bit in the container. And then, as you can see here, that I've got a little piece of hose hanging out. And so what I've done, I found this piece of hose in my shed. I think it's about 8mm hose, which I'm not sure what that is in imperial, maybe 3/8 or something hose. So I've used that to connect to the valve that I was talking about before on the side of the engine. So I'll just show you. Oh, I've got to get up and down, so it's a bit tricky. But so this is the right hand front wheel. So the valve on the engine, normally when you look under the wheel arch here, this cover is attached up the top here, so that cover's in your way a little bit from seeing what you're doing. So you just have to take the top plug out of here, or cut the cable tie, as I've had them cable tied on, and you can just sort of bend it and put it behind your front wheel there. And then you can see in here, you can see I've got a little light here. So that's your alternator down there and your power steering pump. So if you look in here past the suspension height feedback device, you can see that hose there. If I try, actually I might have to try and focus the phone a bit better. You can see that piece of hose, and you can see a bluish looking bolt. Oh, my light just went out. You can see a blue looking bolt above that, and that's the actual valve that you need to undo. So it's a 10mm head on that, and so you're opening it like just any other valve. So to get to that, you can get to that valve however you want to get to it, but what I do, I've got just a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, and I was lucky enough to have a 750mm or 3-foot long 1/2-inch drive extension. But you can just put together all the extensions you've got in your shed, or borrow some extensions from someone just to make up roughly, you'd probably get in there with maybe 2 foot a 2-foot drive, and you need some sort of a flexible head on the end of it. You know what I'm talking about. And you need the part that's missing out of every toolbox, the 10mm socket. So you probably have to go and buy a new one of them because you've already lost it. And yeah, you'll be able to get to that valve, and so obviously you turn it counterclockwise to open it, but you want to be very, very, very gentle when you undo it. If it's seized, then you snap it off, and it snaps off when it's slightly open, you're going to be in a world of trouble. So yeah, you want to sort of jiggle it backwards and forwards, maybe if it's the first time you've ever undone it, or if you live in the countries where everything's corroded, like Australia. As you can see, this is a 2008 car, and it's still in quite good condition because we don't have any salt roads or snow over here. But yeah, you want to be very, very careful when you open that valve anyway, because you could easily snap it off. So that's where you get to the one that's the valve that's on the right hand side of the motor is in front of the spring tower, but the one on the other side is behind the spring tower, and I'll show you where that is. So just to give you some perspective, that's the car there, and we'll go in here, and you'll need to remove the top two things that are holding on this cover here and flip this cover down, and then the valve for this one is behind the spring tower, so it's up underneath there. So you need to get the socket up underneath there. So I haven't tried that one yet, but I think when I lift the car up, it'll probably get the wheel out low enough out of the way, but if not, I might have to even take the wheel off to get the tire out of the way. But yeah, that's where you get to that valve, and so you've got to open them and just drain the coolant out of both sides, drain it out of the radiator, and then unfortunately, this was 8 years ago when I last did it, because this coolant lasts a long time, so, but I can't remember exactly how much coolant I managed to get back in there. So I think from memory I bought 3 bottles of coolant, and that's the old coolant label, but I got this from Toyota itself, and I think though from memory, I can't remember whether I got 1.5 containers in or whether I got 2.5 containers in. So I bought 2 containers anyway, and I'll see how I go. But I managed to get 1.5, nearly 2 litres out of this container into the car. So like I said, I can't remember whether I had 2 of these or 3 of these last time. But anyway, I'm just going to try and get as much as I can in there. But you don't want to use, if you've got any leftover stuff that's been sitting around for 8 years like this one, you don't want to use it because it loses its corrosion fighting ability. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to try and get as much in as I can. If you could get this in a concentrate, there is in the maintenance book for the car, it actually says what type of coolant it is, and if you could find that in a concentrate, you might be a bit better off, because then you just drain as much out of the engine as you can, and then put the recommended amount of concentrate in, and then top it up with distilled water. But because this is pre-mixed, you sort of you just got to get as much of this in as you can to take up the volume in the engine and flush the old stuff out. Anyway, I just thought I'd make this video to perhaps help somebody out who's trying to do the same job as what I'm doing. And good luck. I'll catch you later.